Hello, everybody. I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live, where you'll find Aaron our views here on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Joining me now, as usual, is Aaron William Freeland. Aaron, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing today, Frank?
I got the wrong picture behind me.
That's okay. It happens.
Okay, let's while I fix that. Oops. Let's talk a little bit about the big story today. In my opinion, it's big because it seems decisions are being made politically that seem to be counterintuitive. In this case, the FDA temporarily suspends order banning Juul cigarettes when it was clear that they were harmful. Why are they doing that?
So, what had originally happened was last month, the FDA had issued an order saying that Juul had to pull its electronic cigarettes from the market. The reason they were saying that was because there was not enough conclusive evidence to prove that the Juul e-cigarette, was actually a benefit to public health. This means that they hadn't adequately proven that adult smokers who use Juuls were likely to quit or reduce smoking, and teens were unlikely to get hooked on them. So they said, look, we're going to ask you to stop doing that for now. Then there was, because it's a multi-billion dollar industry, obviously the lawyers got involved at that point. So now the FDA has said, well, we might have been a little bit too hasty. We may need a little more, we need a little more information to evaluate any potential health risks. So.
I think what you said there, or what I have in my recollection, is that you said part of what I remember, and that is that the idea was to get off tobacco. People would get on this, which is a healthier alternative. But what I recall is that that healthier alternative was called into question, and people were wondering really how much of a health advantage is there quitting cigarettes, tobacco cigarettes, and switching over to these particular Juul electronic cigarettes. And the FDA made a determination that from the frying pan into the fire, basically, is what they were implying. So now they're taking a step back because legally they haven't been able to withstand, I guess, the pressure of the legal team that, is a pretty good legal team that $1 billion business that can put together, right? So unfortunately, or hopefully, depending on your perspective, this decision doesn't hurt anybody.
Well, yeah, and again, it's one of those situations where they're like, well, big tobacco could potentially kill you, and big tobacco's gone, well, no, we want Jimmy to live for as long as possible so he can keep smoking our cigarettes.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's go over to sports, and of course, our favorite sport here is the Canadian Football League. The Blue Bombers, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They are some. They're providing some players in the Hall of Fame. Spit it out, Frank.
Eventually we'll get it. Yeah. So basically, running back Fred Reed, defensive end Gavin Walls, and former President Lynn Bishop were all named for induction into the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Hall of Fame on Wednesday. So this is their own Hall of Fame, as opposed to the CFL Hall of Fame or the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame. Yeah, so this is one of those things where, they're naming some of their top players to their own Hall of Fame. So it's good to see them getting the recognition that they deserve. Fred Reed was fantastic as a running back, and Gavin Walls was impressive on the defensive line. So glad to see them getting credit that they're due.
Speaking of impressiveness and dominance, the British Columbia Lions, otherwise known as the BC Lions, have been dominant in the Stars of the Week, and they continue this week.
Yeah, so for the third time in 4 weeks, the top performer of the week in the CFL has been a BC Lions player. This particular week, it's Keon Hatcher, who caught 7 passes for 177 yards and a touchdown in their 34-31 win over Ottawa last Thursday. So congratulations to him. Rourke was the top player in the CFL for weeks 1 and 3, and the Lions didn't win it in week 2 because they were on a bye.
Good for them. Moving on to the Ticats, looking for a little help on the offensive line. They think they found it at the Elks team.
Yeah, so they've acquired offensive lineman Colin Kelly from the Elks. Now, Kelly's played over 7 seasons in the CFL between Ottawa and Edmonton. He started at right tackle for the Red Blacks in their 26-20 loss to Edmonton in the 2015 Grey Cup. So he's a known quantity in the league. He's a 6'5", 298 pound native of Longview, Washington, who also played with Kansas City and San Francisco between 2013 and 2016. Now, also on top of that, the Elks also announced that they've added linebacker Enoch McConzo to their 4th overall pick in the 2022 draft to their roster as well.
All right. Moving over to hockey now, in the NHL in particular, the Pens appear to close to a reunion with Fleury.
Well, they closed the door on that. Basically, what they did was they signed Casey DeSmith to an extension, which basically means that they're unlikely to bring Fleury back. His contract is running through the 2023-2024 season, and it's about $1.8 million per year. Fleury, on the tail end of his career, was potentially thinking of coming back just to sort of get in a couple games with the Penguins and sort of round out his career there. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
The Montreal Canadiens announced a new team of ambassadors. I assume because of Lafleur's passing, there's an open position.
There is. So they've actually named a few people to their ambassadors team. Hold on, let me just get that here. I've got the wrong link. There we go. Happens occasionally when there's a lot of news. So they've added Carbonneau, Danfus, Brisebois, and Nealon, who are joining Cornwallier and Yvon Houle in the role as ambassadors. So it's somebody who the fans are appreciative of, who can go out into the community and represent the team, appear at public events, that sort of thing. So they're also going to be hosting a special online pre-draft Q&A with the new ambassadors, just in advance of the NHL draft this weekend.
For fans like you, Leaf fans, for those of you that don't know, Nyland is like Domi.
Yeah.
So a little toughness in the ambassador group. The Ottawa Senators promote Trent Mann, hire Ryan Bonus as assistant general managers.
Now, this is something that's slightly older news, but it's from last week. But basically, on top of announcing their pregame schedule, they also announced some elevations on their staff. So they're looking to fill out some more spots and round out their managerial team. Obviously, with the recent passing of Eugene Melnyk, there are some gaps and departures that had to be filled out and cleaned up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The Maple Leafs announced the 2022 NHL preseason schedule. Did they mention the prices too?
Unfortunately, they did not. But I have the feeling it's going to be around a mortgage payment again. They don't have a good history of actually discounting preseason games. It's all pretty much regular season prices. Now, the Leafs are actually going to be playing 6 games starting on Saturday, September 24th. It's going to be a split squad doubleheader versus Ottawa at the Scotiabank Arena at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Then Wednesday versus Montreal at Scotiabank. Friday, September 30th against Ottawa and Belleville. October 3rd against Montreal in Montreal. October 7th, it's going to be Detroit at Little Caesars. And then Saturday, as a second part of the home and home, back at Scotiabank.
Okay, so the usual suspects, right?
Yep, all the usual suspects. But, it's the ones they're familiar with.
On a sad note, former rugged NHL defenseman Brian Marchment, who has some connections with the Leafs and some other teams, a young player that very successful. His son now grieving his father's loss at the tender age of 53.
Yeah, he was in Montreal this week for the NHL draft and unfortunately passed away unexpectedly this morning. So it's really a tough day, Mason's now enjoying some success with the Florida Panthers, but it's tough to lose a parent. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the Marchman family at this time. I know it sucks, but we're hoping for the best and that they can keep on keeping on.
Yeah, absolutely. The Flames, they're mourning the loss of Willie Juicin. He's the Calgary Flames organist. He was the man since 1988.
Yeah, 34 years with them, and he's one of those people that you don't really think about, but are there all the time. You know, so again, a huge loss for the Calgary family. But man, it's never got to hear him play live, but was hoping to.
There we go. Another step forward for women in sports, and in this particular case, in hockey and in the American Hockey League, Canadian Jessica Campbell, first assistant coach in that league, the American Hockey League.
Yeah, so this is a huge step forward. She's from Rocanville, Saskatchewan. She was named to the Coachella Valley Firebirds coaching staff on Tuesday. She's going to be joining Dan Bilesma um, behind the bench of the Kraken's AHL affiliate in its inaugural season. So she was actually the first woman on a coaching staff at the Men's World Championship, where she was an assistant coach for Germany. Um, and also, she was also supposed to be a guest coach with the New York Rangers at their summer development camp. But that didn't happen because the Kraken gave her more money to land in Coachella.
Absolutely. Let's look at soccer, and we start with TFC. They make a move, uh, trading Alejandro Pozuelo to Inter Miami.
Yeah, this is upsetting for some Toronto fans, but it's a teardown for TFC this year apparently. So I mean, he was the MLS MVP in 2020, and he's out of a contract, so he's the fourth highest player in MLS at 4.69 million. Um, but this basically opens up a DS for Toronto with speculation that they have Federico Bernardeschi in mind. So that's another addition. Bernardeschi spent the last 5 seasons with Juventus, winning 3 Serie A titles, 2 Italian Cups, and 2 Italian Super Cups. So because he's no longer under contract with Juventus, that opens up the possibility for him to come to Canada. So very
Yeah,
excited about that. But sad to
this
see Pozuelo go.
this year has been a heavy influence in TFC out of the
Yeah.
country of Italy. I joked with David, who's a big Italian, proud Italian, and said, "Well, they're not doing that well. I mean, oh my God, it's almost like bringing in players from Scotland." Soccer Canada, Canadian women turn on the offense late en route to a 6-0 or 6-0, as they say in the soccer world, win over Trinidad.
Yeah, Christine Sinclair got her 190th goal, and Julia Grosso also added 2 goals as they beat TNT 6-0 in the CONCACAF Women's Championship on Tuesday. This is the first time that Grosso has scored. She's 21. Sinclair actually opened the scoring in the 27th minute with a header, so that was good to see. Fleming made it 4-0 in the 84th minute. But yeah, it was basically the entire field was tilted in Canada's direction. So pretty awesome.
Oh boy, let's go over to baseball and the Blue Jays, who have hit a flat spot. For Scotty Homer's A's win series for second time in last 12 days. The Jays are the
Yeah,
A's victim.
this is. I'll be honest. I don't really recall the last time the A's actually won a series at home. According to MLB.com and their statistics page, it's been over 3 months since they last won in April against Baltimore.
Worst team
So
in baseball.
and the Jays found a way to lose to them. I'm actually kind of impressed by that, to be honest.
I
But
think the emotional. Well, I think the emotional situation that they found themselves in a really tough day where they had a doubleheader against Tampa Bay, and then find out about the first the coach's daughter's death has been something that has really undermined the concentration of the Toronto Blue Jays. And there's two things I wish. I wish she didn't pass away, and not because the Jays are losing, but that's a tough situation for the players to get over. Every time you get to first base or you look over, anyway. It's sad and feel bad about it. Let's talk about what you like to refer to as the shenanigans. In this case, the political shenanigans. Patrick Brown disqualified from the conservative leadership race.
yeah, now according to the Conservative Party, Patrick Brown was ejected from the race over allegations he broke financing rules.
It was released. There was a statement that was released late Tuesday night by the party's leadership elections organizing committee, who said that Brown was disqualified from the race after serious allegations of wrongdoing related to the financing rules. Now, Patrick Brown's team is saying this is the first we've ever heard of this. We kind of deserve the right to face our accusers. Meanwhile, on the flip side of the coin, Pierre Poilievre apparently hasn't signed up nearly as many as the 325,000 new people he bragged about, and it may not necessarily be an acclamation for him, which is what he was hoping for. So the problem is the allegations against Brown are anonymous, which means anybody could have dropped off an email in their box saying, "Hey, so and so is doing something."
It would be nice.
So,
I'm not a big fan of. I can understand whistleblowers. This doesn't sound like a whistleblower. This sounds like somebody with an agenda.
no, this definitely sounds like somebody got out the shovel and is trying to bury him.
And then, but here's the irony. They're not printing new ballots. So if he was on the ballot, they're continuing to print, he'll be on the ballot.
Yep. And you know what? Here's the thing, though. When it comes to that sort of thing, basically what they're going to do is they're going to basically, if you vote for him, they're just going to discount your vote. They're just not going to count it, and they're going to look at your second choice.
That's just wrong, Aaron. I think we both can agree on the fact that that's wrong. If he's on the ballot, they have to accept that vote. You even have to accept a write-in vote.
At this point, I would anticipate, and this is just me thinking like this because I have considered getting a card to be a conservative member before. I'm thinking of getting one right now just to vote for Patrick Brown. And as long as I pay my $35, what are they going to do about it? Right. So,
well, that's a thing that happens in the U.S. a lot, with primaries. You get Democrats who vote for candidates on the Republican side that they feel they could beat, and they want to give a little push to that guy getting elected. But as I've told you before, careful what you wish for. They felt that same way about Trump when he ran in 2016. They thought they had him. It turned out they didn't.
And that's the problem, right? PD Short Pants could be more popular than we think.
Yeah, so you be careful. It's best to, I don't know. It's just, like I said, careful what you wish for. Court-martial planned for soldier who criticized vaccine mandate, and he led the march to Ottawa, too.
Yeah, he was seen pictured alongside Pierre Poilievre marching to Capitol Hill. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, they'll arrest you for anything." Yeah, but the problem is there's a specific code for service discipline. And as an active warrant officer, James Topp, while he may be a reservist, is still considered a member of the military. So he is going to be facing a court-martial for that. And for his statements about the government. So it is what it is, but it's not that he's breaking rules is basically what it breaks down to.
Yeah, and unfortunately, freedom of speech is a gray area today because it's not clear anymore. As far as what people do with what they call freedom of speech, it's become very blurred.
Again, Canada doesn't have freedom of speech. We have freedom of expression, but not freedom of speech. But here's the thing. He's employed by the Canadian military.
Speech is part of expression. In fact,
he's employed by the Canadian military. They have a certain set of rules and expectations.
No, I'm not defending the guy, but I'm not going to attack him either. I mean,
he's free to say whatever he wants, Frank. I'm not.
Yeah, but there are rules, and if people aren't happy with rules and laws, there is something you can do about it. So that's the next thing. Three charges laid for a 2019 spill from Newfoundland's Hibernia offshore oil platform.
Yeah, so this was back in 2019. Out in the Hibernia oil fields, there was about 12,000 liters of oil spilled into the Atlantic Ocean. Now, the Canada, Newfoundland, and Labrador Offshore Petroleum Board says it's charged Hibernia Management and Development with 3 offenses related to the spill. That company operates the oil field, which is owned by several oil giants, including ExxonMobil Canada, Chevron, and Suncor. Now, the regulator alleges that the company failed to stop work or activity that was likely to cause pollution, and it didn't follow risk management processes. So Valid concern. I mean, you know, other people make their living out that way by fishing. So if you're dumping thousands of liters of crap into the ocean, then that could potentially damage fishing. It's a problem.
Yeah, it's dangerous stuff.
Yep.
Well, they found another big ozone hole, and this one's over the tropics, and it's 7 times bigger than the one over the Antarctic.
Yep.
Wow, that's scary stuff.
This is a study published by Shi-Bing Liu, a scientist from the University of Waterloo, that says that there's a large all-season ozone hole over the tropics, which is in between 30 degrees north latitude and 30 degrees south latitude, and has been around since about the 1980s. So it reached its maximum size in the 2000s with about an 80% loss of ozone at the center of the hole. By 2010, the tropical hole had started to shrink, but it's still up there. So
shrinking is what it needs to do. That's the reason why we stopped using aerosol cans, because it was destroying the ozone layer. Infertility patients and doctors fear abortion bans could be restrictive.
Now, this is something that we talked about before, specifically with regards to what's called trigger legislation. When Roe v. Wade was banned, a whole bunch of states had what's called trigger legislation, which was triggered by the cessation of Roe v. Wade, the overturn of Roe v. Wade, that kicked a lot of this stuff into place. The problem is that a lot of this legislation was written in such a way that it only talks about conception. It doesn't specify where that conception takes place, whether it's in the womb or in vitro. So there are some couples out there that have, in one particular case, there's a mother who has cancer. She had her eggs frozen before she started chemotherapy and fertilized. Now that there are still embryos that are frozen, if they get rid of them, there is the potential for her to be charged with murder.
Wow.
So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, this is one of those unintended consequences, but everybody's like, in vitro fertilization, nobody cares about that. Again, the trigger laws are written in such a way that it's not specific. So
yeah, well, then the theory is that give the states all the control over stuff like this, and it'll all be good. It's a good theory, I guess. Let's talk about COVID. And there's an alarming rise in COVID cases in Ontario. There's some pressure being put on the leader of the provincial party in power, that being the Conservatives and Doug Ford.
Yeah. Now, in the past 3 weeks, positivity rates have gone from 8.7% to upwards of 16%. So this is a massive bump over the course of the past 2 to 3 weeks. The BA.5 variant is getting stronger and is returning. The problem that we have here is Ontario employees will lose the right to paid sick leave at the end of the month. Ford canceled it because, hey, the pandemic's over. We don't have to worry about it. Numbers are going down. Everybody's got their second shot. So you don't need to take time off anymore. Plus, we're removing the self-isolation requirements for individuals who test positive. You'd know about that. So, you know, you're no longer guaranteed days off. You've got to either burn vacation days or not get paid. It doesn't work.
Phone in sick. More than half of Canada's AstraZeneca vaccine doses expired, will be thrown out.
Yeah, this is a problem with the one-shot dose that everybody thought was going to be the cure-all and end-all. The problem is, because of delays with provincial regulators and whatnot, getting those doses into arms turned out to be tougher than expected. Approximately 13.6 million doses of the vaccine expired in the spring and would be thrown out. As of June 22nd, almost 9 million doses were delivered to 21 different nations. But again, the problem that we have here is they're all expiring because, you know, couldn't get them into arms fast enough. We had to rely on Pfizer and Moderna instead.
And the government wasn't sure about it. The testing process took longer than the viability of the vaccine, which asks another question: could it have been done quicker? I guess that's a question that'll come out later, I guess, Aaron.
We may never know.
Well, you talked about the sick leave. They were urged to increase it. Obviously, we'll see what the reaction to that is. And I guess our final story is some Quebec overnight camps are being forced to close due to COVID-19 outbreaks.
Yeah, so there have been some outbreaks, mostly amongst counselors, that have shut down 3 or 4 different overnight camps across the province. So, and the problem here is it's affecting a lot of kids, right? So that's another thing that we have to be aware of is, while we might like to act like it's gone, it's unfortunately not.
Okay, Aaron, we'll have to leave it there. He's Aaron William Freeland. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Frank.
I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, airing Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. The show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.